In the year 1999 of the Third Age, the deep stone beneath Erebor had never known the flicker of a torch, or the presence of a living shadow. Then dwarven miners swung their pickaxes, and the silence of the earth shattered. Under the direction of King Thrain I, the team unburied a massive white crystal from the roots of the mountain. They considered it the fairest of all their findings, naming it the Arkenstone, the heart of the mountain. The stone functioned as a physical paradox. Though it emitted a faint inner glow even in total shadow, it was the jewel's reaction to outside light that defined it. The dwarves cut 1,000 facets into the globe, so that any stray spark hitting the surface was fractured into 10,000 glints of the rainbow. Extracting this light from the bedrock introduced a permanent, distracting brilliance into the halls of Durin's folk. The arrival of the stone pulled the king's attention away from his people and toward the jewel itself, beginning a shift in the kingdom's priorities. Over the following centuries, the Arkenstone became the central symbol of the kingdom under the mountain. Set in the Great Hall as a family heirloom, it was passed from father to son as physical proof of the king's right to rule. By the reign of King Thror, the vaults of Erebor overflowed with emeralds, sapphires, and mounds of silver. This hoarding triggered the psychological decay of dragon sickness, replacing the king's duty to his people with a singular possessive greed for the Arkenstone. This chart shows the political cost of that obsession. As Thror's focus narrowed to his vaults, his diplomatic ties to neighboring men and elves snapped. The wealth was no longer used to maintain regional stability. Instead, all resources coiled inward, isolating the dwarven leadership. A mountain holding a century of accumulated gold emits a signal to the lighter world. Sitting at the center of this hoard, the Arkenstone acted as a beacon, broadcasting the mountain's vulnerability to any predator capable of smelling gold. The beauty of the stone blinded Thror to the reality of his situation, leaving the kingdom unprepared for the threat his treasure had invited. In the year 2770, that threat arrived in the form of Smaug. The fire drake was drawn specifically by the wealth Thror had amassed, unleashing a wave of liquid fire that cleared the halls of their defenders. The Arkenstone was swept up into Smaug's golden bed. The defining symbol of the dwarven monarchy was now just one of countless jewels embedded in the dragon's hide to protect his soft underbelly. For over 170 years, the surviving dwarves lived in exile as a nomadic people, often working as simple smiths in the Blue Mountains. During this dark age, the heart of the mountain lay unseen, buried beneath Smaug's weight in the Great Hall. The light that once signaled the prosperity of a nation was now smothered by the very greed that had initially pulled it from the earth. Decades later, Thror's grandson, Thorin Oakenshield, launched a quest to reclaim Erebor. He believed that recovering the Arkenstone was the only way to unite the 7 houses of the dwarves and legitimize his rule. During a mission into the Dragon's Lair, the hobbit Bilbo Baggins finds the jewel resting atop the hoard. Though he cannot close his hand fully around its girth, he claims it as his share of the treasure and hides it in his pocket. Once Smaug is slain and the dwarves re-enter the mountain, Thorin undergoes an immediate psychological collapse. Surrounded by his grandfather's gold, he falls into the same paranoid madness that had ruined Thror. Thorin barricades the front gate and refuses to help the refugees of Laketown. He spends his days searching the halls for the Arkenstone, threatening to slay anyone who might be withholding the jewel from him. The artifact Thorin hoped would reunite his people was instead destroying his ability to lead them. To break the stalemate, Bilbo Baggins executes a desperate political move. He sneaks out of the mountain and delivers the Arkenstone to the leaders of the besieging elves and men. This diagram illustrates the tactical shift. By moving the stone from the fortress to the enemy camp, Bilbo shifted the balance of power. The stone was now leverage, a bargaining chip intended to force Thorin into a peaceful negotiation. Thorin's reaction was a violent refusal to bargain. He denounced Bilbo as a traitor and prepared for a suicidal defense of the mountain, willing to see his entire company die rather than surrender his claim to the jewel. The Arkenstone had become a source of political gravity, so corruptive that it nearly caused a war between the very allies needed to defend the north. That war was only avoided when a common enemy, a host of orcs and wargs, attacked the mountain. In the resulting Battle of Five Armies, Thorin was mortally wounded. Before he died, the dragon sickness faded, and he asked for Bilbo's forgiveness. After the funeral, the new King Dane and the leader Bard made a final decision. They laid the Arkenstone upon Thorin's chest within his tomb, deep beneath the roots of the mountain. Bard proclaimed that the stone would bring good fortune to the mountain as long as it remained there. By entombing the prize, the dwarves broke the ancestral cycle of hoarding that had invited so much external violence. The light once pulled from the earth was finally sealed away. Its facets no longer reflected the fires of the forge or a dragon's eye. Peace in Erebor was achieved when the heart of the mountain was surrendered back to the silence of the deep earth.